but yeah, this is a recipe that my mom, who is here, made a lot growing up from her mom and her mom's mom. And it's like a very common recipe that a lot of people, what were you gonna say, Mom?
Actually, my father's mother.
Oh, right. Yeah. Go, go. Yeah. So my great grandmother. But it's not like a super niche recipe. It's a recipe that a lot of people from like England and similar things like in Scandinavia, just like egg, flour, milk, make like there's Dutch babies that are very similar, but that's you bake it in a big pan. But this is popovers specifically, and it's similar to like Yorkshire pudding, which is like an English thing, and but that is usually made with beef tallow instead of butter. But otherwise, it's pretty similar, like done in muffin tins. But yeah, I remember like eating it a lot growing up, just like for breakfast on a weekend morning usually. Uh, and I would usually be the last one at the table, just like eating all the rest that no one else ate because I really love them. Um, I like my favorite thing to put on them is honey. This is just Costco honey. And just for after they come out of the oven, just for topping them, or like some kind of jam. That's what I usually.
Or preserve.
Or preserve. Or conserve. But David has specific tastes. So I don't think I said it at the beginning yet, but if you haven't already, you should preheat your oven to 425. I didn't put an oven in the equipment list, which maybe I should have. So hopefully everyone has an oven. If you don't, I mean, you could do it in a toaster oven if you had a small enough pan to fit in it.
Might take some experimentation.
If you live in Phoenix, you can set it outside.
What?
If you live in Phoenix, you can set it outside.
Oh, okay, yeah, there's that. But yeah, I think making sure that the oven is very like well preheated is important. And that being said, everyone's oven is a little bit different. So like the temperatures and times that I am using like work very well for my oven. And in general, they should work for everyone, but you might find out like your oven runs a little bit cooler, so it might take a little bit longer, or your oven runs hotter, like you might need to turn it down a little bit lower than the temperatures that I use. But I think if you just go with the times and temperatures that I'm going with, that will at least give you a good point to start off from, and get delicious popovers at the end. So I think first we'll just measure out all the ingredients, which there aren't very many. But the milk, you just need 1 cup. So I always use a liquid measuring cup just so that it's accurate. You can use a dry measuring cup. It's just a little bit easier to use one that's liquid. And then flour. The flour I usually, so that it doesn't like get too dense and like all stuck together, I'll like scoop some up and pour it out just so it kind of aerates it a little bit. And then just kind of give a good scoop. And that's about a cup. And then I've got salt and the butter for the pan. So I'll go ahead for the mixing part. We're gonna start with eggs into the bowl and then add the milk and then add the flour and salt. And we'll just, our only mixing tool is just gonna be a whisk. So I'll go ahead and do the eggs. And yeah, you can see David doing the close-up camera. That was some pretty intense egg cracking. So just in case you needed to see that. You can always like toggle over to the close-up view if you want to. And then I'm going to start whisking these, and you really want to whisk them very well. Like what you should be looking for is for the eggs to become really like homogeneous, like all one color, and to kind of lighten up in color, so they'll turn a little bit of a lighter color and be slightly like foamy when you're done whisking them.
Hey, Merra. We've made Dutch babies in a blender. Would this be a recipe we could do in the blender, or does that change things?
You can do it in the blender. I just prefer to do it by hand.
Right. I'm just wondering what the difference is. Does it have difference?
I think it honestly is not that different. I just prefer to do it by hand, and I think it does affect the overall, like the ending texture of the top. Like, because as you'll see at the end, it's not a perfectly smooth mixture. So I think that kind of lends to like a little extra crunchiness at the top of the end. But yeah, I mean, you can definitely do it in the blender as well.
Okay, cool.
I know our mother definitely did it in the blender because sometimes it was a double or a triple batch.
Yeah.
I have to say, I'm loving the production quality here. We have multiple camera setups. This is excellent.
Yeah, I definitely couldn't do this without David. Okay, so this is when it's done. Like it didn't change color that much, but it just got a little bit lighter. And it's just a little bit foamy. So that's kind of what you're looking for in texture. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add.
Was everyone done
Oh
whisking?
yeah, I'll wait a second. But then the milk will be next. Everybody's looking good. Who's pouring the milk? 1 cup of milk. I usually use whole milk for this. I don't know. I think you can use milk alternatives. I think for this recipe, it works the best with like the ingredients I'm using, but you can make substitutions depending on what you have. It just might turn out a little bit different, like it might not pop as much. Yeah, the texture might just be a little bit different.
Yeah, I have soy milk, so we'll see how that turns out.
Okay, yeah. It'll work. Okay, so then that you just want to make sure it's all blended together well. And then from there, we'll add the flour and the salt. The flour, I usually use a kitchen scale for a lot of recipes because it is very, then it's very consistent. But this recipe, I just use a cup, and it, there's obviously a small amount of variation. But for this recipe, as long as once you make it a few times, you kind of know what the batter should look like. So as long as I know it looks right, then I just go with it. And then for salt, it's about like a medium-sized pinch. I think if you were to measure it, it would be between like 1/4 and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So I just do this kind of pinch, and I do this before I start mixing in the flour, just so that it will, and I'm gonna add a little extra. I just like things salty. And I'm using kosher salt. So if you're using like a fine sea salt, you would probably want to do a little bit less. I probably should have said that first, but just so you know. How's everybody doing? thumbs up if you're like all
2
caught
thumbs
up.
up.
Cool. Cool.
Good
Everybody.
question. I got lost in the salt department. The salt is in the egg and milk now or not now?
So I put in the flour on top of the egg and milk, and then I put the salt in on top of the flour in the bowl, but I haven't begun to mix the flour and the salt into the mixture yet.
Got it. Thank you.
But it's all 4 ingredients are in the bowl at this point. Yes. Okay, so now I'll start mixing. Yeah.
Hey, Mom, hold on. Turn on the blender and then when.
What happened? Wait, did you guys just explode the blender?
Yeah. We're fine. It's great. It's going well.
Good update. That can't happen if you're not using a blender. So that's why I'm not using a blender. Yeah, and the lid has to be on. Yes, Mom. That's a good rule to follow. So I'm just gonna start whisking, and you just want to try to incorporate all the flour into it. Just take your time. It'll all get there eventually.
It looks like you're not whisking as
Vigorous.
intensely.
Yeah, I mean, for this, definitely, if you whisk too intensely, your flour is just gonna come out. So I just kind of do it gently. If you can see from the close-up that David's doing, it's like a little bit lumpy, which is fine. But you just want to make sure, like I kind of scrape the bottom and the sides just to like really make sure it's all mixed in. And there's just like some small lumps. Like if the flour, sometimes the flour can be really lumpy and you want to like make sure there's not large lumps, but if there's little ones, that's fine. So it's pretty well mixed. This is kind of the consistency you're looking for. It's
What
like
is the difference between small lumps and large lumps?
I would say a small lump is like smaller than a pea, and a large lump is larger than a pea.
Okay.
Yeah, but also like you can, I mean, you probably could overmix this, but like using a hand mixer, it's not likely that you will, unless you're mixing it for like 5 minutes, like whisking it really hard. So you just want to like get it pretty smooth. Like the lumps that I have are kind of maybe like sprinkle sized, I would say, or like smaller. But it's not like a perfectly smooth batter. It's similar to like a crepe batter if you ever made crepes. Similar thickness, I think, maybe a little thicker, but about the same. But yeah, so now that is done, like the batter's ready to go. But the next thing we have to do is prepare our pan, which we will do. I just have like a regular standard kind of muffin or cupcake tin. I bought this for like $9. Oh, same one from Safeway. Oh wait, that's me. I thought someone else. No, but Laura actually has a similar one too. Yeah.
Will this work in a Silpat, like muffin tin?
Oh, like a silicone one?
Yeah.
Yes, I have done that before. They don't get quite as crispy. They will pop, but they don't get as crispy on the outside. Okay. But it definitely works. And then what I'm going to put into the pan is some butter. This is like a half a stick of butter. And so I'm basically going to just cut it into 12 pieces, which I will do here.
So you're cutting into 4.
Yeah,
And then
I cut it kind of in a standard way. So I cut it into 4 that way and then 3 pieces on this way so that you get not perfectly even, but And then my hands are gonna be nice and buttery after this.
It's good moisturizing after all the hand washing.
Yes, that is a good point. And then just kind of put one in each muffin spot. And then the next thing is to put this into the oven, just the pan with the butter in it. So we're gonna put it in the oven long enough to brown the butter. And that amount of time will probably vary for different people's oven and also depending on what pan they have. It might take
Eating the dregs now.
like 3 to 5 minutes. But one thing, my oven is far away, so I'm not going there yet. But if you are near your oven, you will be able to hear like a lot of popping and crackling, which is like once it gets melted and stuff, which is just the water evaporating out of the butter, because butter has a certain amount of water in it. So when you're browning the butter, you're basically boiling all the water out of it and then caramelizing the milk proteins that are still in the fat. So it becomes more just like fat and a few little milk proteins, and then all the water is gone out of it once it's browned. So we'll go. David will follow me
Is everyone ready?
to put it in the oven.
Cool.
You're
Well,
gonna
we're just
take a
going.
walk. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So, and like my oven rack is just right in the middle of the oven, which is a good spot for it. Not too high and not too low. Okay. Who has theirs in the oven already? Cool. Nice. Good job, Asher. Nice hat. So yeah, that will just take a few minutes. And then when that comes out, we're gonna just, I like to use my liquid measure mine is a 2-cup liquid measure. So all of the batter will fit into this. Or you can just like ladle it out of your bowl if you want. But for me, the easiest is just to pour all the batter into here and then use this to just, since it has a nice little spout, just pour it into the pan. It's just the easiest way. But yeah, you can, if you have like a ladle, or you can pour it straight from the bowl into the muffins. You just have to be careful. But it should work. Does anyone have any questions so far?
I had a question, Merra.
Yeah.
Is it beneficial for the batter to rest for these few minutes, or could we have the butter in the oven while we're mixing the batter and then?
That's a good question. I think it's slightly beneficial, but often when I'm making these, I am doing what you mentioned. Like I'll often like wake up, get out of bed, turn on the oven, like mix my eggs and milk, then like put the butter in the pan into the oven, then add the flour and salt and mix it. And then once that's done, the butter's ready, and I put everything in the oven. So it's like it can be really quick, which is also why I really like this recipe. It's because it's really good, but it's like I can, from like the time I get out of bed to when we're like eating them, it can be like 30-35 minutes. And so it's like very simple, it's very fast, and like you get something hot out of the oven that's really good. So
Mom always used to say that like room temperature ingredients popped more. Would you agree with that?
I don't think it makes that much of a difference. I usually use cold, and like I made a test batch last night, and I like did everything really fast, straight from the fridge, and they popped a lot. But I mean, it's like those. I feel like that kind of thing. It's like and like resting the batter. It definitely doesn't hurt. But I feel like you can get really almost the same result without doing these things. But it definitely is like if you think ahead and if you plan ahead, like it's definitely can be a good thing to do. But I don't really think ahead that much.
The butter at the back of the muffin tin, just like in the hot spot in the oven, is browning.
I usually will, like, you can either just go and turn the pan.
I did.
Okay, cool. And then I usually, like, for me, I don't mind if the butter even gets like a little burnt. I like it that way. So I like to make sure everything gets brown. But if you're like, oh, I don't really want like butter, you can take it out earlier while some of them are still like not all the way brown. Like you don't have to brown the butter. That's just how I like to do it. And it makes sure that like the pan is really hot, which is also important.
Okay.
Let's go check on our pan. I think it might be ready. Or else I just don't know how to do it. You can hear it. Yeah, it's going. This is it's popping a lot. So I don't want to get too close, but it's not that brown yet. So I'm going to let it keep going. And I also don't want to keep the oven open for too long, but it's cool to see. So that should be ready in like maybe less than a minute. Yeah, is anyone's butter already done and out of the oven?
I'm about to take mine out. It smells great.
Yeah, mine's pretty brown.
Yeah, that's another thing. It smells, I mean, butter cooking is like one of the best smells, in my opinion. I mean,
I made brown butter sage pasta last week.
Oh.
That was great. Yeah. So I'm all about butter right now.
Yeah, we go through a lot of butter. Yeah.
Merra, do you like people talk about like different kinds of butter that they really like a lot, and what kind do you prefer to use?
I use like what I buy here is like our kind of local brand. That's Clover. But I feel like I just feel better about buying local brands. You know, and also like I don't like to spend a lot of money on butter, but for certain things like I might splurge on like Kerrygold or something. But for this one, I'll just use like my normal butter. Unsalted. Yeah, thanks, David. Also unsalted. I feel like that's something I forget to clarify a lot, but unsalted just we should probably grab it. Unsalted just because then you can control the amount of salt you're adding.
Fun fact, at the height of
Okay. So this got like pretty dark. It's like smoking a little bit. This is like maybe a little too dark, but it'll still be really good. Like you don't have to go this dark. And then I'm gonna put my batter in here.
I always forget how touchy my fire alarm is here. And whenever I bake, my fire alarm goes off.
Yeah, I think we disconnected our. No.
It's just far away.
It's just far away. Yeah.
We open the windows.
Yeah. Thankfully, it's fairly windy usually here. So you'll probably end up filling your muffin cups like halfway full or maybe a little bit more. I kind of usually start conservatively, and then if I have stuff left over, then I'll just kind of like see if one looks a little lower and add it to that one. You can see how brown the butter is now that I'm adding something light colored to it.
Is everyone following along? Anybody not following along?
Tell us if you're not.
I am following,
Cool.
I said tell us if you're not.
and I don't follow rules.
My butter's still browning, but I expected that. And
Okay, yeah, yeah. Vera has a very thick, heavy pan, which is great, like a silverware pan. You can definitely use those, but because are so heavy and have a lot of mass, they will just take longer to heat up and longer to brown the butter. I think I went a little heavy. So these, so now I'm just gonna put this in the oven, and once you put your popovers in the oven, you'll turn it down a little bit. So I turn it down to 410. I preheat it higher just because ovens always lose heat when you open them. So just to make sure if I'm starting from higher, it's not going to drop down as low. Or I mean, it will drop down, but it won't be too low. And then it should be, I do mine usually for 20 minutes. Depending on your oven, it might be a little shorter or a little bit longer. So I usually start checking at like maybe 18 minutes or so. Maybe check at 15 minutes if you haven't made them before.
Set timer for 15. Someone's beeping.
You said to turn it down to 410. Merra.
Did someone ask me a question?
Yeah, you said to turn it down to 410.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then now we have 20 minutes to
Hang out.
do whatever we want. I kind of wanted to ask if anyone had, Phyllis, are you eating something from Proof Bread?
Yes, I am.
Oh, so
Twice baked almond croissants.
sounds delicious. He lives in Phoenix, and there's a really good sourdough bakery there. So he's showing off that he has.
I get once a week delivery box from them.
That's, yeah, that's great.
Does it get delivered by a tiny robot?
Not yet. I need that to happen though.
That's the future.
It is.
But I was gonna ask if anyone wanted to, because this for me is like a very nostalgic food, and like I have a lot of memories of eating it growing up. But I wanted to ask if anyone wanted to share like a nostalgic food memory they have, either from their childhood or just like of any time, just something that like really makes you feel good.
These are in the Felicity cookbook. Do you remember that? Did you ever see, like, do you ever have
that one?
I thought
Like the American Girls thing?
I definitely thought I was muted this whole time too, and then I like went to say that and was like, shoot, I'm that person. But they're in the Felicity cookbook. I remember probably not this exact recipe, but my mom like assigned each of us an American Girl doll and bought us like everything to do with them. And I remember it being one of the first things I ever made. I don't think I made them with you, but then I forgot about it and ate them at your house in high school. And I was like, behold, here it is. This is what I've been trying to find. So
nice. Yeah, Katie and I have known each other since like first grade or younger. So.
I have other food memes, but that's a good one pertaining to what we're doing.
Yeah, yeah.
Did it.
Thanks, Katya.
I love you. We love you, Mom.
Love you too, fam.
Good. Only good vibes are here. Nadia, are you eating something out of a can?
Olives. I'm making olive bread. Sorry.
You gotta eat what you gotta eat.
How much is the time difference that you feel it's olive time? I feel like it's still brunch time, which doesn't involve olives to me.
It's before noon, so.
I'm trying to eat all the stuff that's in my fridge before I go back to the grocery store. So I had like some Spanish rice to finish, and I made some eggs. And then I've been meaning to make olive bread since the last time we did a cooking class, and I've just had the olives on my shelf. So I figured now's the time since I have no milk.
Thanks.
They're delicious. Highly recommend.
Does anyone else have any stories they'd like to share?
Actually, I had popovers a lot as a kid too, but we ate them at dinner with any dish that had gravy. So I grew up eating them with gravy on top.
Yeah, I feel like
it's also really good.
Yeah, there's definitely savory options. We usually just eat them for breakfast with honey and jam, but yeah, and I think it's a very like English thing to have them with dinner. And like, I don't know if they always call them Yorkshire pudding or if they call them popovers and eat them with dinner. But yeah, there's a lot of options. I have also done where I've put cheese and ham in the batter before I put it in the oven. And they don't pop as much because you're kind of weighing them down, but they're still really good, like in a savory way. Yeah, because they don't have any sugar in them, so they're very like versatile in that way. Like you can easily make them savory, but I just generally eat them with.
What will the consistency be?
Well, you'll see. It's kind of like I don't know. Someone asked me this earlier, and I was like, I don't know. You just have to see. They'll be very airy on the inside, and then the actual cooked part is like a very eggy dough. Kind of like, I think the closest thing I can think of is like a crepe, except for it's just like a tall popover that's very brown and crispy on the outside. But the inside is very soft. And eggy.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
So the other day I was reading about blintzes and I made a batter for it that seemed kind of similar, and the recipe had you make it in a food processor. It was very weird. But like, what is a blintz? Because I kind of Googled it and was like, is this like the Jewish version of crepes?
Yeah, I think I've made them before to have with caviar because, fancy. And to me, they're basically like tiny pancakes. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Buckwheat pancakes.
Yeah, they don't have to be buckwheat, but that's the kind we made.
Okay. The recipe I was making was trying to make a baked version of them, and they ate it with blueberry sauce, and it was just not like what I was expecting. So I was like, I wonder what this is like supposed to be.
Yeah.
And
I'm not sure, but what I thought of them as was just like a weird tiny pancake.
I very much felt like they were a weird pancake. Yeah.
Yeah. Does anyone else have any like baking questions or anything?
My grandma always used to make like little mini ones.
Half of them are from Alaska.
Oh. Sorry, Molly, what was that?
My grandma always used to make Swedish pancakes, so like the little tiny pancakes.
Uh-huh.
They were like stackable, and they were always my favorite. They're so like tiny and flimsy that you just like feel like you can have a lot of them.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that about popovers because they look really big, but they're like, it's a lot of air in them. So I'm like, I can eat as many as I want. It's a decent amount of butter, but
Yeah, they were Swedish pancakes.
Yeah.
And we always like poured so much like syrup over them. I think it was just sugar overload.
Yeah. But it sounds delicious.
Every Christmas, my grandma makes prime rib and then makes Yorkshire puddings with the prime rib like jus. It's my favorite thing.
That sounds amazing. Yeah.
So good.
That sounds so good.
Okay, Emily.
My favorite food is banana bread.
Your favorite food is banana bread, Malia? Nice. Do you help make it? Nice. That's a good one.
I was gonna
Does
shout
Ashley
out my mom's banana bread too, which has pecans, and this is a hill I will die on. Banana bread must have pecans in it.
They are good in it, but I would beg to differ. It has to have that.
I would say team walnut, but I would strongly be team nut and banana bread. Yeah.
When you make a pecan, they usually end up like flat in the batter, and then when you cut them, you get these perfect little like cross sections of pecan. They're just delightful.
It's good. Yeah, nuts are pretty essential. But yeah, I would say you could still have good banana bread without it. But that texture is really nice to have like the soft bread and the crunchy nuts. What time is it? I think we have like 10 more minutes before it might be done, but we'll see.
This isn't nostalgia, more like just sharing our present food experiences. Sierra and I have almost gone through 3 boxes of frozen corn dogs. That's our lunch. It feels kind of middle school to have corn dog and like sliced oranges or a sliced cucumber, just a little token something fresh with it. But that has been kind of a saving, like if we didn't have leftovers to eat, that's what we knew we were going to have. And it's been very comforting.
You put mustard and ketchup, or what do you dip? Do you like dip them in something?
Sierra's just a ketchup fan, and I do both. Yeah. Well, good.
Yeah.
Kristen asks if popping up out of the muffin tin is normal.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And another thing is like, try not, like, we don't have a very good light inside the oven, but I still try not to like open the oven too much while they're baking, because that can cause them to collapse if you open it like too much, or if it loses a lot of heat while they're baking, especially while they're like not to the crispy stage, while they're just still soft. But yeah, I also have a corn dog story, which is at my old job, it was my responsibility to make like a staff meal every day, but like sometimes there was just no time. And so I always had a case of frozen corn dogs in the freezer. So if I was like, I just can't, I don't have time to make food, I would just take out the case and like put 20 corn dogs on a sheet tray and put it in the oven. And like people, it was disappointing because sometimes people liked it more than like the food that I would take time cooking. I mean, it's like I made good food, but like there's something about a corn dog that's just like, who doesn't like it?
Yeah, can we get those at 181, please?
Yeah, one day. I've never tried to make them at home, but I mean, if we need a staff meal, I know where to get it. Yeah, but I would always just put mustard on it. That was my go-to.
I've actually never had a corn dog before.
Ooh. I mean, I feel like it's maybe like one of the most American foods.
Also feel like it's kind of gone out of fashion.
Yeah, that's very true.
Maybe it's just
maybe on the West Coast.
Like if you went to a state fair anymore, would they even have that?
Oh yeah.
They're there.
Go to like the Minnesota State Fair, which is the biggest in the country.
Okay.
And they have a corn dog called a Pronto Pup, and it is incredible.
Ooh.
Like, I really, really miss having access to that fair.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing about moving here.
Yeah.
They're at the South Carolina State Fair too. don't, but you're right though. Like I definitely don't see them as much. And do you remember hot dog on a stick in the Fifth Avenue Mall being there for like the longest time? And it's gone now. Is it still, because I think it was like a chain in California. Is it still there?
I don't know if I've seen one in like
I went to one in like Venice Beach.
Okay.
We recently closed the one that was here in the city in San Francisco. So I don't know.
Going away.
Those horrifying hats that the employees had to wear, I feel bad for them. And I'm glad that they're in a better place now, but I do miss hot dog on a stick.
That was my dream job when I was in middle school, thinking what I would like do in high school if I got my first job because of those outfits. That's all I wanted to wear.
I mean, I feel like I could definitely see you working those cool, like bold colors though. So like, yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it seems like, what was in Stranger Things, that ice cream place, was it ice cream?
Yeah.
It seems similar vibe, like ridiculous outfits that you have to wear. You work at this like mall food court restaurant.
I feel like the vibe in San Francisco would be like artisan corn dogs.
I wonder, I mean, if anyone's doing artisan corn dogs, it would be happening here.
There's an Eat Street event that unfortunately got canceled because it was in mid-March, where it was basically just all vendors with gourmet corn dogs.
What?
I was really looking forward to this.
Yeah.
And it got canceled right as the city shut down, excuse me.
Yeah.
Is it annual? Because
it is annual. It's annual. It's coming back next year. I'm really excited for it.
You can plan to come visit around that.
I'm just waiting until I can try. Like I was straight up ready to buy a plane ticket, and then it's all. I'm like waiting till I can come. But David, would that be your worst nightmare? Because you kind of seem not keen on the corn dog sitch.
I'm not a huge fan, but artisan, I'll give it a shot.
So what application of ingredients to the corn dog would allure you?
What was that?
What would they need to be doing to a corn dog with other ingredients to allure you?
Just make it not taste so gross.
Well, you like the puka dogs in Hawaii. And
Those
that's
aren't-
like, I mean, it's not corn, but it's
Those aren't
like
corn dogs.
it's corn in bread. It's a hot dog in
I
bread.
think these would be
it's a
better
hot
than
dog
puka
in
dogs.
bread. It's not a corn dog.
Wow. Anyway.
Well, is it that it's a hot dog? Because I also have an aversion to hot dogs.
But you like
most. Yeah, like it's one of those things that I like, even though I kind of like hate that I like it because they're good. But I also feel that way about ketchup. But you probably remember we weren't allowed to have it when I was a kid.
that was a thing.
Yeah. Speaking of hot dogs, it reminds me. Remember when we would like at a school like barbecue or something? I would eat the bun and you would eat the hot dog.
Yeah, I didn't like hot dog buns, so I would just eat the hot dog, and Laura didn't like the hot dog, so she would eat the bun.
Set timer for another 5 minutes.
Very efficient.
When do we know that these are done? Like my 15-minute timer went off and they're very
well, let's look at, I'll show you my, color-wise, they should be like dark brown on the top, but you should still be able to see some like lighter colored parts. Let's see how these look. These look good, but not done yet. Like, see how they're golden brown? Like, you want them to get a little darker.
Closer, please.
No.
And then the thing part of why I like the brown butter is because you get these little like black little flecks that look really cool to me. Like all around of just like the little brown butter pieces. But they should get pretty like darker than golden brown on the top for sure. And how are people's looking? Is everyone's popping?
Mine's massive and kind of pale colored without much brown on it, but looks like it can explode soon.
Cool. I think the only thing about like, if you take them out before they get dark brown, like they just will collapse really quickly and they'll still taste good. But like the more crispy, oh cool. I can't see them that well, Jen, but
Too much of a reflection, but I think
they're popping, at least some. Looks good. But But yeah, the darker you get them, the more crispy they'll be, and the better like they'll hold their structure when they come out. They'll pretty much always like start to collapse when you take them out slightly. But it just kind of depends on how crispy you get them.
Luckily, I have a good idea of what they're supposed to look like because I'm pretty sure every single time I've stayed with you guys, that's what we've eaten for breakfast.
Yeah,
around
I like popovers, so I make them all the time.
Mine have some serious lifts, but they're pale.
Yeah, it just takes time. I think our oven is like, I think it actually might run hotter than other ovens. I'm not sure. So ours will be ready in probably like 2 more minutes, but if yours aren't ready, like just leave them in. They'll come out when they're ready. Oh, Mom, what are you doing? Are yours little short ones?
So these were what I made on Thursday with a complete crossover without looking it up. I used coconut flour. And so they turned into puffins.
Little puffins.
Popover muffins. So.
Okay, so they just, the coconut flour did not let them rise. Okay. I think I've never tried using gluten-free flour. I know there's some like mixes that would maybe be better than like a coconut flour, but I've never tried it. But if anyone ever wants to try it, let me know how it goes.
I mean, how much role does gluten play in this?
Definitely plays a role, but I feel like I don't know. Like I don't know all the science of a popover exactly.
I'm using a King Arthur gluten-free mix right now, so we'll see how it turns out.
You are? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, let's definitely see yours. How are they looking?
Popped, that's for sure.
What?
They've definitely popped. That's for
good.
sure.
Cool.
They're just,
Yeah. What gluten-free mix did you use?
the King Arthur mix.
Okay.
Actually,
does it have like what does it have in it? Just out of curiosity.
Actually, I lied. It's Bob's Red Mill 1-to-1 baking flour, and the ingredients are.
Yours look good.
There's the ingredients. Can you read those?
No.
No. Okay, just kidding. Okay, sweet white rice flour, whole grain brown rice flour, potato starch, whole grain sorghum flour, tapioca flour, and xanthan gum.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna call these good.
Oh yeah.
So they are very tall, especially that guy.
So we took ours out, but we let their 12 in just to get a little more done. But
Oh, Mom, yeah, yours look. I mean, Mom is who I learned it from, so hers, of course, look delicious and good.
What?
This one is.
This one got real tall, and you can. I mean, I like to eat them immediately, if not like as soon as possible after they come out of the oven. They cool down quickly because there's so much air in them. They're not dense.
You can like visibly see them shrink.
Yeah, like they look the best right after they come out. This one is my most prized one. It's like it really went there. And you get some weird shapes, like they turn out different every time. But you can kind of see like the brown butter. I just think it looks really cool. And it's just like little crunchy bits.
Yeah.
That one's majestically thick.
Yeah, but it's all air.
Yeah.
And it should be like pretty crispy. I like, if you use like a metal pan, I mean, it should work with most pans. As long as you bake it hot enough, the bottom gets really nice and crispy. The middle is like a little softer, but still kind of crispy. And then the top is very crispy. And then I'll just open this one up to see. It just looks like that inside. Very like eggy, delicious.
Now ours are stuck into the pan. Should we have like swirled the butter around more, or how come yours?
No, I mean, the butter was brown first, right?
Yeah, our smoke detector was on the verge of going off, so we pulled it out a little bit earlier.
Does your pan have a nonstick coating at all?
Yeah.
If it's old or and like the bottom is kind of chipping away, that definitely will cause it to stick too.
A bit of a strug.
Ooh, Chris, I just saw yours. They look really good.
Ooh, yeah, those look really good. But yeah, sometimes like the fork method of like gently not trying to destroy the Teflon coating.
Yeah, sometimes I'll use a fork. Ooh, Kristen, yeah, those look good.
But yeah, we just got a new pan because we've had like 2 others of the same pan
Yeah,
that
that lost kind of, even if it just loses the coating in the bottom of the pan, they'll stick really bad.
yeah, and just every single time they just like stick really, really, like it's impossible to get them off. But we went out and got a new pan yesterday, and this like there's no stick on any of these.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I think if they do stick, and if it's worth it to you, just buy a new pan.
It's like
they're
$8.
Yeah, they're pretty cheap, and I mean, it's fine if they stick because you can just pull them out, but it does make the pan really hard to wash because it's like the egg really sticks. But yeah, and then some of them, the only thing you want to be really careful about is like some of them get like a pocket of butter inside, which is like my favorite part because you just are eating butter. but you just have to be careful you don't burn yourself because otherwise they cool down really quickly and you can eat them within like a couple minutes of a minute or 2 coming out of the oven.
It's really good. I'm eating mine.
Oh yeah.
Good.
Very happy.
Katie, yours look really good. They popped. They popped a lot.
Yours go. You said slightly darker than golden brown, right?
Yeah, I feel like if you can see mine, they're like on the top at least. They're my person to show the close up is getting plates. But it's like on top it's brown, but like around the side it's like more golden brown.
Okay.
But the top is darker. Just keep opening them. Oh, this one has like, ooh, I'm gonna eat that. Like crispy, ooh, butter everywhere. Oh no. And it gets really crispy. Like this is just like crispy, but also soaked in melted butter. And this is like the best thing in the world to me. It's so good. We're gonna eat it.
Yeah.
David wants to eat some too, so he's gonna put down that camera.
Please wait to eat till mine come out. Thank you.
I gotta bounce, but this was so dope.
Good.
Bounce.
Bye, Katie. Bye. Love ya.
I was going to say that when I saw my paternal grandmother making them, which we would often request if we spent the night at her house with our family, she would have specifically popover pans, and they were only black because they were tempered to withstand great heat and great butter. So she would go ahead and melt the butter, but it was they wouldn't have stuck because they had years and years and years of historic butter. So that's what I remember is that they were terribly tempered and they were specific to popovers. So
Were there, because you can actually buy popover pans, and usually they will have a deeper cup, like a little bit narrower and deeper cup. But I like to just use a regular muffin tin because I don't feel like I need the extra height. They're already tall enough. But there are specific ones that you can buy too.
Yep, she didn't. She just created them for.
Oh, okay. They were just designated to that.
Molly, how did yours turn out?
They're good. They're a little bit more uniform than I thought they would be.
They look good.
In a pan or silicone pan. And
Yeah, I think when I've done them in silpat or silicone pans, they do that kind of same thing where they kind of like almost just come off the bottom. Like they look big, but there's like nothing in the bottom of the tin somehow, or the not tin.
They're like, I don't know, they kind of look like a muffin top, kind of.
Yeah. How do they, what's the texture like? Have you eaten one yet?
No, I just took them out of the oven, so I'm giving them time.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, wait, I use silicone just muffin tins.
Mm-hmm.
Hope I can't see it. Anyway, because yeah, I don't want to. It's more work in the cabin to clean.
Oh my.
But yeah, they definitely softer around the edges, but they're still good.
Yeah, the silicone just doesn't get quite as crispy, but they still will.
Mine's really crispy, actually.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah, and it's like it's doughy in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
It tastes really good. I think
Cool.
the gluten-free flour, I didn't see like a ton of difference. It just didn't pop as much.
Yeah, but they look good.
Yeah, they still
That's
pop.
cool. I've definitely never tried them with gluten-free flour, so now I know it can be done.
Yep.
Oh, so those look super poppy.
Are they stuck?
Yeah. They're sorry, it caved in when I was eating it, but I'll try to open it up to show you. Like they're still soft in the middle.
Yeah, that is how it should be. Ooh, yeah, that comes apart really nice. Those are yours. Yours are all stuck to the pan.
Yeah, they all stuck on the bottom. Very sad.
It happens.
I have little pools of brown butter where I took out popovers. It looks like it
Yeah,
didn't
some
absorb
of them
everything.
the butter will just stay in the pan, and sometimes I'll just like mop it up with the.
Yeah, I'm considering that right now. It tastes great.
Yeah.
Mine didn't come out super golden, and they were in for probably 22,
Good.
23
I
minutes.
need this.
But
Maybe a cooler oven.
I think
maybe
it may have stuck to the bottom a little more than we want, but
They look good. I saw them earlier, Jordan.
So I'm about to eat my 6th one.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I usually eat 6 at least.
I lost count because normally
We have rules about eating these.
and you just broke them. Normally we eat half of the pan, so 6 and 6.
But we like in order to keep track, like I take the right half and he takes the left half, so we don't have to guess how many we had.
But I forgot how many I've eaten so far.
I don't know.
I'll have to check the
I think I've
recording.
only had 2, but that means we've had 3.
Can we rewind the video to see?
Check the recording. You can have more than 6 too, Chris. You can have as many as you want. But to me, they're like just very satisfying to eat and to make. So hopefully everyone has enjoyed making them with me.
Oh, there's Elena.
Hi,
Elena,
Elena.
are you eating any? Or you're on mute? But thumbs up if you're having some.
Cool. Good.
Thanks for letting us make these with you.
Yeah, thanks for
thank you.
joining. I just like sharing the things that make me happy, and this is definitely one of them. So,
I give you an A+ for your teaching skills.
wow, that comes from a high school teacher, so.
But grades don't matter.
Grades don't matter anymore.
That's true.
I get a pass out of the pass-fail?
Yeah, you won't.
Good enough.
You get credit for this semester. Well done.
Cool. Everyone's, Jen, how are you enjoying yours?
They're really good. I've never had popovers before, so this is my first one, and I really like it. Alex did too, but he refuses to be on the camera.
That's okay. I don't mind.
He's not really a camera
I
person.
did see Kitsu earlier, so I was happy to see him.
Thank you so much. This was really fun.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm glad it worked out. Yeah, this one I felt like was good because we could do it in an hour, and now we're overtime, but that's okay. I mean, it's like I said, like if you're just doing it at home and like once you get used to doing it, you can do it in like half an hour. It's very, very simple, very quick, very delicious. But yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed. Like, feel free to let me know if you have any feedback about how your popover first turned out, or if you have any additional questions or comments or anything.
Some Andy-Pan coffee.
Would you mind sending like a link to the recordings? Because I like didn't have flour.
Oh yeah.
So I gotta go. I gotta go shopping.
Yeah, for sure, Bill.
Thanks.
It does
pair well with Andytown coffee. Yes, it does.
It does pair well with Andytown coffee.
Just a little promo.
Many times have we had coffee, Andytown coffee, and Popovers.
Yeah. So
It's kind of a thing.
but oh, Chris has got it going on too. I love it. We love to see it. But I think we'll take off unless anybody has any last minute questions or comments.
Thanks, Merra.
Thank you, Merra.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I think so.
Both of you for feeding us lunch
Yeah.
and entertaining
Thanks
us.
to David for all of the help. I don't know if I should call you my sous chef or my videographer. I don't know.
Helper.
Helper. That's good enough.
It's the help.
But oh, Asher's trying them. Asher, do you like them?
Can you say it louder?
Peanut butter.
He says, thank you. Oh, look at her dog.
Thanks. Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining. This was really fun to do.
Thank you, Sarah.
I'll let you know if I ever do another one. We'll
Yeah.
see. Have a
That's
good
fun.
day, everyone.
Yes, please.
Bye.
Bye.